rehab so many times, and every time he'd be doing great, and then it would just fall back. I mean, you've heard the same story from a million people.
The world knew him as the son of Pawn Stars legend Rick Harrison. But after his sudden and tragic death, no one could have predicted what was hiding in his garage. When the doors finally opened, what friends and family discovered left them absolutely speechless. And it revealed a side of his life that few had ever seen. The Harrison family has been at the center of television fame for over a decade, thanks to the massive success of Pawn Stars. Rick Harrison, the shrewd businessman with an encyclopedic knowledge of history, became a household name, and his sons, including Corey and Adam, were also part of that spotlight. But away from the cameras, the Harrison family faced heartbreak that no parent should ever endure. In January 2024, Rick's son Adam Harrison tragically passed away at just 39 years old. The loss stunned fans and devastated the family. Yet the shock didn't end there. After Adam's death, when his garage was finally opened, what people found inside painted a haunting picture of the man he truly was, his passions, his struggles, and the secrets he carried with him. So, what was really hiding in Adam Harrison's garage? And why did it leave even his family speechless? To answer that, we have to go back to who Adam was, and why his story is as heartbreaking as it is unforgettable. Unlike his brother Corey, who became a fixture on Pawn Stars, Adam Harrison preferred to stay out of the limelight. He worked at the gold and silver pawn shop for a time, but he never embraced the cameras the way the rest of his family did. To most fans, he was the missing Harrison, a name they heard but rarely saw. But Adam wasn't absent because he lacked talent or ambition. He simply didn't want fame. While his father and brother built a television empire, Adam focused on living a quieter, more private life. He worked in construction and pursued his own interests, far removed from the glare of reality TV. Still, Adam was very much a Harrison. He carried the same curiosity, the same stubborn streak, and the same love of collecting. And in the end, it was his garage that revealed just how deeply those passions ran. So what kind of treasures had Adam quietly gathered away from the cameras? Before exploring what was found in his garage, we have to confront the tragedy that defined Adam's final years. His death in January 2024 was confirmed to be the result of a fentanyl overdose, a heartbreaking reminder of the opioid crisis devastating families across America. For Rick Harrison, the loss was unbearable. He had already buried his father, the beloved old man of Pawn Stars. Losing his son was a pain on another level entirely. Publicly, Rick spoke out against the fentanyl epidemic, calling for accountability and awareness. Privately, the family grieved a son and brother whose life was cut short far too soon. Addiction had cast a shadow over Adam's life. And yet, despite the struggles, his garage told another story, one not just of pain, but of passion. Because when the doors opened, what lay inside revealed the complexity of a man torn between demons and dreams. But what exactly did they find that left everyone speechless? The day Adam's garage was opened, the atmosphere was heavy with grief. Family, friends, and those closest to him gathered not knowing what to expect. Would it be a messy storage of forgotten tools and broken dreams? Or would it reveal something more? Something that showed who Adam truly was beneath the struggles that plagued him. As the garage door creaked upward, what emerged stunned everyone. It wasn't chaos, it wasn't emptiness. It was a meticulously arranged space, a shrine of sorts to the things Adam loved most. Stacked neatly on shelves were collectibles that reflected his lifelong passion for history and artifacts, a trait clearly inherited from his father. Old coins, vintage signs, tools, and antiques filled the space, each piece carefully chosen. To outsiders, it may have looked like clutter, but to those who knew Adam, It was evidence of a mind still curious, still searching, still fascinated by the stories objects could tell. But that wasn't all. Hidden among the historical artifacts were deeply personal items, journals, letters, and keepsakes that spoke to Adam's private battles. They told the story of a man who carried pain, but also carried hope, trying to hold on to pieces of himself even as addiction threatened to consume him. What secret truths did those journals reveal about Adam's struggles, and what legacy did they leave behind? As family and friends explored the garage further, they uncovered items that painted a fuller picture of Adam's life. Among the antiques and collectibles were motorcycles he had worked on, some completed, others half-finished. The bikes, greasy and gleaming under the garage light, revealed Adam's love for mechanics and craftsmanship. He had inherited not only his father's eye for valuable objects, but also the Harrison knack for fixing, tinkering, and restoring. Next to the motorcycles were boxes filled with music memorabilia, old records, band posters, and even a collection of guitars. Music, it seemed, had been another of Adam's quiet passions. These weren't just instruments. They were outlets for expression, reminders of a life that had creativity flowing through it, even if the world never saw it on camera. And then there were the letters. Tucked away in a battered metal box, they revealed Adam's inner world. Notes to friends, reflections on his struggles, and even apologies for times he felt he had failed. They were raw, emotional, and heartbreaking to read. But they also showed a man who was self-aware, who desperately wanted to change, who loved his family more than his demons would ever allow him to show. For Rick Harrison, reading those words was devastating. It reminded him of what could have been, of a son who had so much potential but whose life was stolen by addiction. But perhaps the most shocking discovery wasn't the artifacts, the motorcycles, or the letters. It was something buried deeper in that garage, something that hinted at the double life Adam had been living. What was this discovery, and why did it leave even his family speechless? As they dug deeper into Adam's garage, the discoveries became more unsettling. Hidden behind boxes of collectibles and tools was evidence of a double life, a life Adam had carefully concealed from those closest to him. Among the treasures and family mementos were signs of his ongoing struggles. Prescription bottles, paraphernalia, and reminders of the addiction that ultimately claimed his life were tucked away in corners, almost as if he had been trying to hide them from himself. The contrast was striking. On one side, a man of passion, curiosity, and creativity. On the other, a man battling demons too powerful to overcome. This painful juxtaposition left the family in shock. It wasn't just a garage, it was a reflection of Adam's internal conflict. The side he showed the world was orderly, creative, and full of promise. The side he tried to bury was chaotic, heartbreaking, and destructive. For Rick Harrison, it was a devastating confirmation of what he already feared. His son had lived with one foot in the light and the other in the darkness. And while the garage revealed Adam's passions, it also revealed the silent battles that no amount of love, money, or fame could save him from. The discovery left everyone speechless. How could a man so full of life and potential also be so weighed down by pain? For Rick Harrison, opening that garage wasn't just about discovering his son's possessions, it was about confronting the depth of his loss. Rick had built his life around preserving history, valuing objects, and telling their stories. But no story was more heartbreaking than the one hidden in his own family. Rick has always been portrayed as the pragmatic, tough-as-nails leader on Pawn Stars. But behind the sharp business acumen is a father who has endured unimaginable grief. First, he lost his father, Richard "Old Man" Harrison, in 2018. Now, just a few years later, he had to bury his own son. The pain of losing Adam was compounded by the knowledge of how he died. Fentanyl didn't just take Adam away. It stole the future Rick had hoped for his son. And yet, in his grief, Rick found a new purpose: to speak out against the epidemic that had claimed his child. In interviews and statements after Adam's passing, Rick has been vocal about the dangers of fentanyl, urging families to talk openly about addiction and demanding accountability from those responsible for the crisis. For him, Adam's death was not just a personal tragedy. It was a call to action. But no matter how strong his words, Rick's grief is written in every line of his face. The garage may have revealed Adam's passions, but it also forced Rick to face the cruel reality that no amount of love could save his son from his demons. The question that lingers is haunting. Can a father ever truly recover from a loss like this? Or will Adam's absence remain a wound that never heals? Though Adam Harrison lived a life away from the cameras, his legacy is undeniable. To fans of Pawn Stars, he may have been the son who chose not to embrace fame. But to those who knew him personally, he was more than just Rick Harrison's child. Adam's garage revealed the depth of his passions: history, music, mechanics, and creativity. Each collectible, each tool, each unfinished project told the story of a man who valued stories, who saw beauty in forgotten objects, and who wanted to create something lasting. His journals and letters showed something even more profound. A man who cared deeply, who wrestled with guilt, who longed for redemption. They revealed the humanity behind the headlines of addiction. Adam wasn't just another statistic of the opioid epidemic. He was a son, a brother, and a friend whose struggles reflected the pain that millions of families across the world face every day. In many ways, Adam's legacy isn't about what he accomplished publicly, but about the conversations his death has sparked. His passing forced his family, his father, and his fans to confront the devastating reality of addiction and the urgent need to address it. But perhaps the most powerful part of Adam's legacy lies not in what he left behind physically, but in the lessons his story teaches. Opening Adam's garage wasn't just about finding objects. It was about discovering the truth. The neat shelves of collectibles, the motorcycles, the guitars, they reflected his passions, his creativity, and his curiosity. But the hidden evidence of his struggles told a different story, one of pain, conflict, and silence. The garage, in many ways, was a metaphor for Adam's life. Outwardly, it showed a man who was intelligent, passionate, and full of potential. Inwardly, it revealed the battles that few could see and even fewer could understand. For the Harrison family, standing in that garage was like standing inside Adam's mind, a place where beauty and chaos coexisted, where dreams clashed with demons. It was haunting, heartbreaking, and unforgettable. What left them speechless wasn't just the items themselves, but the realization that they had only known pieces of Adam. The garage gave them a fuller picture, one that was both inspiring and devastating. It reminded them, and all of us, that even those we think we know best may carry struggles we cannot see. So, what really happened when they opened Rick Harrison's son's garage? They didn't just find antiques, motorcycles, and journals. They found Adam, the real Adam. A man of passion, a man of pain, a man whose life was more complex than most ever realized. The discovery left them speechless because it revealed both the beauty and the tragedy of his story. It showed the love he had for history and creativity, but also the silent battles that ended his life too soon. At 39, Adam Harrison's passing is a heartbreaking reminder that addiction does not discriminate. It can touch even the most famous families, and it can rob the world of lives filled with potential. For Rick Harrison, the garage was a painful gift, a final glimpse into the heart and soul of his son. For the rest of us, it's a call to remember that behind every statistic is a human being with dreams, passions, and struggles we may never fully understand. What do you think? Does Adam's story change the way you see the Harrison family? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories behind the headlines. Because sometimes the most valuable treasures aren't the ones found in pawn shops. They're the truths we discover too late.